Hi there, you're watching the Gardens and Graveyards channel. My name is Charisma, and today we're hanging out in the studio, and I wanted to talk to you about human composting. Um, I am not at all claiming to be an expert at human composting, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because I think that it is the wave of the future in our death care industry, as well as our cemeteries and graveyards. Not to mention how we are treating the human body after people have passed away. So most of us are familiar with cremation, possibly aquamation, most likely urn burials and casket burials. You may even be familiar with being planted in the roots of a tree or out to sea as a reef restoration. All of those things I will be talking about in future videos to come, so stay tuned. I don't have it on my calendar exactly when, but probably in the winter months of this coming year. So it's going to be a little while before I talk about those things, as well as green burials and what all that looks like. But I did, human composting is an up and coming industry that is taking off like wildfire. Make sure you check in your local state to see if it is legal and where your local composting facility might be found. So it is a brand new industry, and it is just a really beautiful option. So the difference between green burial and human composting, just real quick, there's a huge science to it, and I'm not going to get into the science. If you want to know science, there will be a link in the description below, and you can go to a company called Recompose. They are on the forefront of this new industry in death care, and you can check them out, and they will give you detail. And the founder, Katrina, is just absolutely amazing, and there are interviews with her that I'll also link if you want more information about human composting. I don't obviously do human composting, so I can't give you all the details. I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I just think it's such a beautiful way to honor the deceased, to honor your loved ones. So the green burials is when a person gets wrapped in a shroud or cotton clothing, and then they get buried in the ground. And they're usually buried with organic matter, which means sometimes the family provides, flowers and leaves and that kind of thing, but most often the cemeteries provide that. With human composting, it is an accelerated process where it is done in a facility with professionals, and a person, after they're deceased, is put in a vessel with organic matter that can be provided by their families or the facility. And then that vessel or that chamber is temperature controlled, climate controlled, environment controlled. And so it has the perfect amount of moisture, air, microbes, all the things to make the human body decompose in 30 days. So that at the end of a 30-day time frame, the family is provided with, I think it's a yard. It's basically a truckload full of compost, including the human compost. And if it in the ground, when a person is buried in the ground without any embalming or fiberglass or concrete around them, it takes a long time for the body to decompose, depending on the environment, anywhere from 1 year to 10, 12, 20 years or more. And that's how you have mummies in the most perfect environment. They don't decompose at all for thousands of years. So the human composting vessels make it so that they are for sure composted, and it's done in a quick turnover manner. And most other families are choosing at this point in time to donate the majority of the compost to a watershed, a conservation, or a reforestation project, which is beautiful. That's an amazing option. And oftentimes, sometimes the families can choose like what project they want to be a part of. And sometimes they just leave it up to the facility, and the facility is typically working very closely with some organization that's trying to, rejuvenate Mother Earth in some way. But I think it's really important to consider cemeteries, and I think that cemeteries need to start implementing a human compost component to their grounds. And I think that creating really beautiful gardens designated for human composting is going to be something that's absolutely necessary for cemeteries and graveyards to consider in order to continue being a valid part of our community. The other thing that you can do with your human composting, obviously, is you can bring the whole thing home with you and create a new garden bed, or compost an existing garden bed. Typically, people use compost as like a mulch, so they layer a garden bed with the compost to prevent weeds and provide nutrition. And I think that's just like a really beautiful way that you can honor a loved one. You can create a new bed and plant it with all their favorite plants, like a rose or a tree that reminds you of them. That's a really beautiful honor to have on your property. I am going to be doing a little bit more garden memorials in my own property in the next year, so stay tuned for that. We have a pet memorial coming up soon. No, nothing recent, but just in honor of a couple of pets that we've lost in the past that we just want to include in a more conscious way in our garden, and memorialize them. What else did I want to say? Oh, the other really cool thing that I love about human composting is that when the families are allowed to provide the materials for the organic matter, I just absolutely adore the idea, especially as a gardener, that my family can come to my garden and cut down or trim or cut flowers or prune some trees and shrubs, and then take all those clippings and those cuts and put them in the vessel with me, and that my body and the bodies of the plants that I loved and treasured in life all become one new evolution in the turn of our souls. So I think that's really special. And the other really lovely thing that I have been seeing about in the human compost facilities is that they really encourage the families to be a little bit more hands-on and a little bit more present with the loved ones that they have lost. So they give the families a more welcoming environment where they can spend a significant amount of time with their loved ones, where you can, dress them and oil them and massage them and just be with them and create ceremony around their bodies with them present with loved ones and living and deceased, so that it's just a different level of closure. It's a different level of embodiment of death. And I think that is really special. I think that's something that we have lost, the art of caring for the dead in our society, in America anyways, we have. And I think that it's really important that we start incorporating these things back into our family systems and into our society systems. So I love that Recompose anyways really encourages, and I assume that since they are the model of human composting, I would assume that most human composting facilities are also leaning on allowing families to have a little bit more time, a little bit more intimacy with their loved ones before placing them in the vessel to be composted. So it's just another way to care for our loved ones in death, and something to consider. And I think it is something we should consider. I think it's even more, for me, it's certainly more enticing than any other way to, for lack of better terms, dispose of the human body. Just, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, but really just going right back into the earth, exactly as the earth is most, going into the earth in the most favorable form in which the earth can accept us, without having to work very hard. So that's kind of it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope it gave you a different perspective of death care and how to care for your loved ones in death, and just something new to think about. And if you already know about human composting, tell me down below that, give me a thumbs up. And if you didn't know about human composting, give me a heart. And if you think that you might want to be composted, send me a fire sign. I'd love to see how things are looking in our world, and what our audience and what our people are thinking about. So, like if you already knew, heart if you didn't know but know now, and fire if you are ready to be composted, if it comes available in your area when you pass away. And don't forget that you can do pre-needs for human composting as well. You can prepay for all of those things, and to make sure that it's all set up ahead of time, so that when you pass away, your family doesn't have to think about it. They could just get you to the appropriate facility and get things taken care of for you in the way that you want to be taken care of. Until the next time, keep celebrating your life. We will see you in the next video. Bye.